All right, guys. So first of all, thank you for joining us today. All right. So today I think it's yeah. So basically, first of all, those who are talking to us for the first time, I'll just introduce myself. I am Usman Ubaid. I'm a registered migration agent with Pacific Group. I am a director of the Sydney branch. So obviously, if you have any questions, I'll be able to answer them, and from migration perspective as well. And also, I will be available after this webinar as well in the future, right? So first of all, I'll give a disclaimer that this is only for information purposes. Every case is different, and there's little nuances, little differences in each case. So keep that in mind. So this is going to be very general, okay? And if you want to know about a particular specific case, I'm happy to answer as many questions I can do today. But for the rest, I'm happy to answer over the email or have consultation in the future, right? So let's just go ahead with that. Okay. So first of all, regarding ACS, okay. As you all know already that this is an assessing body for all ICT occupations, okay? So this is mandated by the government that they will be the only ones who will have the right to declare you as a software engineer, network engineer, security specialist, or one of those IT occupations. And there have about 15 to 20 occupations they have in total. And most of the occupations are very hot right now. So they're getting a lot of invites. And there are a lot of changes happening. So so this is a very important topic today, right? So today's agenda, I've divided into simple 4 parts, basically. The first one will be about the qualification, meaning what kind of qualification needs to be there so that you can be assessed with ACS, okay? And then we'll talk about the professional layer in terms of basically how does that help you and why should you do this, why should you not do this, stuff like that. And the third and fourth part will be about the experience requirements, basically for offshore and Australian experience, because this is how ACS will differentiate between most applicants, right? So what they do is they have completely different criteria for people who are applying with offshore degrees and completely different criteria for people who are using Australian degrees, right? So let's get started now. So first of all, for qualification requirement. Now, the rule of thumb is that at least 65% of your degree should be ICT components. Okay. Now, this even includes subjects like introduction to programming, database management, basic subjects. Everything can be included, but at least 65% should be as part of ICT. Okay. Now, there are a lot of little differences here. Let's say if you have a 2A degree, the rules are slightly different. 4A degree, the rules are slightly different. But if you have a degree which is, let's say BCA, MCA, MIT, BIT, Bachelor of Computer Science, Master of Information Systems, Master of Business Analytics, these will be designed in such a way that they will be basically assessed by ACS. Okay, so the whole course is designed in such a way that you can become a software engineer or business analyst or ERP specialist after that. Okay, so that's one thing. But there are some degrees which are slightly confusing. Some degrees in which you can't really tell if that would be an IT degree or not. Now, there are ways to find that out as well. Okay, you can do a provisional assessment with ACS, and they will give you an opinion whether your degree is assessed, can be assessed or not. Okay, like I meet a lot of people who have done Master of Commerce in information systems or Master of Commerce in IT management. Now they have a degree which is a perfect marriage between IT and commerce. Okay, now for such degrees, no one can look at the degree and tell you 100% that this will be an IT major degree or not. So that's why we have to be as careful as possible when we are stepping into it, because if you are starting a professional area, you're starting your experience, you need to make sure if your degree is worthwhile or not. Will it be assessed in the future or not? Because we have to do your professional year. Okay, because a professional year institute gets paid for it, right? So it can cost anywhere from 7,000 to 11,000, depending on which institute you choose and which city you're choosing on. Now, if you're spending that kind of money, you need to make sure your degree is accessible or not. Because if it's not accessible, or if it's something which is confusing, because the PY Institute wouldn't bother looking at it much. If they think there's enough component, they will take you in as an applicant. Now, the problem with that is after 1 year of doing the professional year, you'll find out the degree is not correct. So because of this, you have to be careful while choosing the degree at the first place. And after you complete your degree, talk to a migration agent or look at it yourself, do your research, and you'll know the answer, right? So this is the first fundamental step. Now, the second thing. Now, professional year. Now, professional year, as most of you would already know, because I'm assuming most of our clients, most of the people who are attending this webinar, they are based in Australia already, right? Now, you all know that professional year is for 10 months. It can only be done on the 485 visa, or and it will basically they will have to charge you for it. So it can, again, as I said, the cost can differ from 6,900 all the way to 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 upwards, right? So that's why so make sure you choose the right institute and the right migration agent as well along with it, because migration agents, we also have tie-in with such institutes, so we can give you a lot of discount, right? So if a course costs let's say $11,000, we can bring it down to $8,000, $7,500, depending on which intake you're going on. So there's a lot of discounts available. So make sure you do your research and you find out, call a couple of people, and then you step into professional year. Okay, and also we help you as well, so you can just contact us and we'll be able to give you the best possible rate for it. Now, professional year itself is basically it's for 10 months. They'll teach you about subjects like Australian business culture. They'll send you to internship. The first 7 months will be studies in 9 to 5. And the last 3 months will be all about the internship. Now, if you're already employed in IT related role, let's say in network support or desktop analyst, if you are a software engineer, junior programmer, you can skip the internship part. However, you will still have to wait for the 3 months to complete before you can get the certificate. So for professional year, the 10 months cannot be reduced. Just because you're employed, that wouldn't make a difference to the time period. It will still be 10 months. The only difference would be, instead of 3 months of internship, you'll be working for free and just wasting a lot of time. You can just continue working at your company, and that's pretty much it, right? So 10 months is all we need. So you have the right qualification and you have the right professional year, and you can get the full skill assessment, and you can get the 5 points for EY. Okay. So now a lot of people, they ask me that, okay, then we have an employment, we are working as a junior developer, then why should we bother with professional year? Like, how's that helping me? Like professional year is supposed to guide me how to become a better employee, or how to find a better job, and how to like increase my prospects of having a better job. Then why should I do it if I've already scored a job? Now, a lot of people who study from good universities, who have good grades, or sometimes people are just good at finding jobs. They already have a job, let's say as a consultant in Deloitte, or they're working, even a university like University of Sydney, UTS, they're hiring business analysts, right? And these are the people on 485. So if you're working, then why is there a need? The need is because you get 5 points for it. Okay, that's the first thing. And the second thing is safer this way. Why? Because if your employment is not assessed positively, for example, if you have the right degree, okay, let's say you have the right degree, let's say you have done an MIT, and most of your electives or your majors were in software engineering, programming, all these kind of subjects, and then you start working, but the work is not the right kind of work. You started as a network support, but you couldn't find any job in programming. So now the problem is you cannot use a software-based degree with networking experience to get the assessment. All right. So this is where the PY will save you, that no matter what happens, because PY is generic, so you will still get the assessment. Okay. So if something goes wrong with your experience, or maybe your employer is just not willing to sign the reference letter. So do they do that sometimes? They're not obliged to do it. What will you do? So it will just protect you from a lot of those kind of nonsense, right? So it's very important that you should know why you're doing it. You should just not do it because your friends were doing it. You should do it knowingly, actively, proactively, understanding what is the need. So the biggest reason is the points, number one, and number two is that you lock in your assessment, because then you lock in your qualification, because there's no way the ACS will say that, oh, you have an IT degree and you have a professional year, we will still not give you assessment. They will have to give you assessment, right? So they have to do it. So that will lock it in. So that's very important, that professional layer sometimes serves multiple purposes for different people. For example, if you go to Canberra and do a professional layer, in Canberra, you get 5 extra points for studying there. Okay, you can get it through diploma or through a professional year. So why not, if you're an IT graduate, you have to do professional year anyway, so might as well you just do a professional year over there, right? So that's why there's a lot of advantages with it, right? Now let's move to the next part. Now this basically chart can easily show you how the assessment in the point system works. So because this is where a lot of people have a confusion, like, do I get points for both or just one of them, or should I use experience and the PY or just one of them, or what's the deal with that, right? So the simple this is like the simplified version. So if you have done professional year only, you'll get a positive skill assessment and you will get 5 points for the expression of interest. If you use your experience, again the same result, you get positive skill assessment and 5 points for EOI. But if you do both of them together, as I earlier mentioned, you get 10 points for the EOI, okay, because you get points for both of them. Okay, just few days back, actually, I was talking to one of these girls. She told me that, oh, I have to get my PY assessed. She said, oh, I got my assessment, but it was based on experience, so I have to get my PY assessed. And I couldn't understand why would she do that, because the actual issue is you don't need to get the PY assessed. For if you started, you graduated in December of 2020, and you started your experience in January, and you started your PY in March. Okay, now January to December of 2021, you have already completed 1 year of experience, so you can get the assessment in December of 2021. You don't need to wait for PY certificate to be issued to you, because PY certificate you can get assessed based on your experience, and then later on add your PY on top, right? Or vice versa. So that's why PY doesn't need to be assessed by ACS. It's already assessed. It is issued by ACS itself. If you look at the actual certificate, ACS logo will be on top. So it's actually on the letterhead of ACS actually. So so PY is basically, you don't need to get assessed. I'm telling you this because I just recently came across this case that someone was confused. They already wasted $500 just to get it assessed. So I thought I'd inform other people before anyone else makes the same mistake. So okay, now here's the thing. Offshore experience. Now, in terms of qualification, if you have done offshore experience, offshore qualification, sorry, if you have done a BTech in India, or you have done a Bachelor of Computer Science in Pakistan, or you have studied in China, wherever you studied. Now, basically anywhere in the world except for Australia, if your degree has been completed, then you have to follow this structure. Okay, so if you notice, they want anything above bachelor's degree, first of all. Okay, and then you have to have a then they'll ask you a couple of things. Okay, for example, if your degree is ICT major or is it ICT minor, then it'll ask you whether your degree is closely related to your occupation, nominated occupation, or is it not related to your occupation. Okay, and then it will tell you how much experience do you need for it to be assessed. Okay, so you need 2 years experience, or 4 years, or 5 years, or 6 years. Okay, that depends on your qualification and your experience, like what kind of work have you done. Okay, now if you notice the first degree, which is bachelor's, it is IT major. Now this is like the most common situation. Okay, this is like the most common situation. So we come across this situation pretty regularly, basically on daily basis actually. So if you have a bachelor's degree, let's say you studied in India, you have a Bachelor of Technology in Computer Science, and you have done it's ICT major, we know that, and it's closely related to your occupation. So now the work you have done, now you're getting assessment for, let's say, network engineer. Okay, so this degree should have enough networking components that you can be assessed as a network engineer based on that degree, right? So this is what it means, that the work and the occupation that you're choosing and the occupation based on your degree are aligning. So alignment is very important. So you can't say that I have done information systems and I want to get a security specialist occupation. It just won't work, because those are two different occupations, right? You have to look at the group of occupations. Okay. Now, if you have an IT degree, IT majors, it's relevant to your occupation, then you need 2 years of experience in the last, basically in the last 10 years. Okay. Now, ACS is very particular about this. They only look at the last 10 years, you can go before that. Now, there's another choice. If you have, let's say, don't have the right experience in the last 2 years, you can use it. You can use 4 years experience in anywhere in your history. So it could be back in 2002, 2023. That's fine. You can use it, but then they'll increase from 2 years to 4 years. Okay. And then if you notice, if the bachelor degree is the second part, if the bachelor degree is IT major but not related to your occupation, then you need 4 years of experience. If the bachelor degree is IT minor and it's again related to your occupation, you need 5 years experience. So basically, the further away from the ideal degree you go from, the further away you go from it, the more experience you would need to cover up. Okay. So for example, if someone has a degree which is bachelor's, but it's IT minor, it's not IT major, let's say electrical engineering degree. Okay. It has, these days, a lot of electrical engineering degrees do have IT components, but they sometimes they are IT major, sometimes they're not. So, but for them, we have to be very careful. So if you're applying for it, you will need 5 years of experience in the last 10 years. And these 5 years would not give you points. Now, this is very important. So these 5 years will just get you the assessment, not points. Okay. So, but again, this is the reason I'm telling you in detail is because everyone has a different case. So I have to cover most of the people. But the first situation, if you look at it, that's like the most, like 80 to 90% cases, that's what we get. A bachelor's degree in IT, 2 years experience, and you get the assessment. Okay. So that's how it is. Now, let's move to the next part. Now, this is again a graphical description of what you really need to understand if you're using overseas experience, right? So for example, you have 5 years experience. Okay. 5 years in the last 10 years. Let's say you work from 2012 till working. Okay. Now they will say that, okay, you have done it. Let's look at this example. Actually, 2011 to 2014, you did your 3 years bachelor's, and from 2014 to 2016, you did your 2 years work experience. And then again, you had 2 more years after 2016 to 2018. Now, in total, this person has the right qualification, okay, and 4 years of experience, okay, from 2014 to 2018. But because, as I said earlier, that they do deduct 2 years of your experience, so after 4 years, 2 years will be deducted. So you're left with only 2 years to get the points. Now, this person would not get any points because there's no point for 2 years of offshore studies. So what happens is, in such cases, you have to have at least 5 years experience so that 2 years get deducted. Even then, you're left with 3 years for the 5 points. Okay. So that's how we choose it. So a lot of people tell me that, okay, I have 8 years of experience in Australia, overseas. Why shouldn't I get 15 points? Because you can't. They will deduct 2 years. So they'll leave you from 8 to 6 years. So you can only get 10 points maximum, right? So that's what we have to look at. So, and this confuses a lot of people. So I always tell people, simply just look at the completion date of your qualification. 2 years from that will not be included. After that, it will be included, right? So that's the general rule of thumb we follow. All right. Now, there's no such rule for Australian degree, by the way. For Australian degree, you just have to complete an Australian degree. If you are working, that work or that PY, it doesn't get deducted. You get points for both of them. So for example, if someone has done an MIT degree, Master in Information Technology, in December of 2020, they completed it. So the whole 2021, they were working in the right field and they were doing a PY as a professional year. Now, both of them will, so this person will get points for both of these things, experience and professional year, 10 points. Okay. So Australian degree is assessed a completely different way. Offshore degrees are dealt in a completely different way. Now, there are a lot of reasons for it, but we'll not go into that. But it's just that they're being careful, and they obviously, it's their home country, so they prefer their own degrees, right? So end of the day, we can't really complain. Now let's move to the next part. Now, here's the thing: experience. Now, we have covered a professional year. Now let's talk about the experience assessment. Now, this is again a very, I would say, pain point of a lot of people, because this is one part where a lot of people get stuck in terms of what do we need to show the employer, right? Like what do we need to ask the employer, what do we need to show to the ACS or the nomination or the visa, like how does it work, right? Now this is a very, very common thing I get like pretty much daily basis. Now first of all, there are a couple of things you have to keep in mind. Okay, broadly speaking, if you open the whole thing in your head, you would need to basically uh, show your documents at generally at 3 levels. Okay, generally like at 3 levels. First would be ACS, okay, Australian Computer Society. They will be assessing the experience and like the work and everything you've done. Second will be the state, okay, which state you're applying for, whether you're applying for NSW or Canberra or South Australia, Tasmania. They will be the ones looking at the documents to see what have you done. Have you genuinely worked there or not? What kind of role were you doing? What were your day-to-day duties like? You know, they look at that. And then the third level would be the visa level, right? Now this means Department of Immigration, basically, they will be looking at your ultimately your the documents and the experience letters and everything, all the supporting documents to see what you need. Now I've kept it really simple so everyone can understand. Doesn't need to, you don't need to think too much about it. It's so you do need your qualification document, of course. You need your degree, your completion letter, and your transcript, right? Both are important. So that's the first part, but this obvious. The second thing is experience letters and everything, right? Now experience reference letter means that you have to give them a letter in a particular way in which you show them who you're working for, how much you're working, and what you're doing day to day, right? So the letter would have a letterhead of your company. So let's say you're working for Wipro or TCS, you have to show, it has to be in a letterhead, okay, first of all. Now secondly, it has to contain clear wording that how long have you been working with them. Let's say you've been working for 5 years or 6 years. They have to mention, like, from 20, let's say Mr. Ajay has been working for us from 31st May 2014 till current, or let's say till 2019 he was working with us. So you know, you have to write the time period, and also they have to disclose how many hours were you doing. Let's say you were doing 20 hours a week or 35 hours a week. That's also one more thing that has to be mentioned. Now again, when you say full-time, we usually take it to be 38 hours, 40 hours. Even if someone's applying to a job with me, if I say full-time, that means I want someone for 38 to 40 hours. But for migration law, for migration purposes or ACS purposes, let's say 20 hours per week is considered full-time. Okay, now why that is, but if it is there, we'll just take it, right? We're happy with that, because that makes our job and your job much easier, right? So 20 hours a week is considered sufficient for all purposes, for point, for assessment, you name it. Okay, so the letter will contain that paragraph, and then the letter will also have the duties, the day-to-day duties you're performing, right? Now this can differ drastically. Multiple factors. The first factor is basically which industry you're working for. So if you're working for health industry, your IT will be different. If you're working for consulting firm, your work will be completely different. If you're working for financial sector, it will be different. Fintech, different. Military, different. Every side will be different, first of all. Secondly, what kind of department you're working on, right? That's also another factor. And then it will come down to the basically the if you're working for a certain project or certain client, that will add further complexity to your reference letter. Meaning you have to write the duties in such a way that you disclose them everything that you know. So if you're a software engineer, you're understanding the client's needs. If you're working on programming, coding, debugging, everything, testing, you have to basically mention it. Just because you say you're a software engineer, senior software engineer, does not mean anything to them. Nothing. Because that doesn't show what you're doing day to day. So if you're not doing the right task day to day, doesn't really matter. So you have to mention, because, and again, this is interesting because a lot of people who are genuinely working, they are usually humble enough to not bother too much. They think that, okay, bro, we are working genuinely, so why should we, put everything in? You're not showing off. You have to show it. There's no way around it. You have to do it. And then there are people who have not done anything and they will put up everything. They'll make a letter such a way that I have to cut out the thing that you can't even, this is not even possible. If you're doing all of this, that means you're a one-man show. You're running the whole department. You can't do that. So stuff like that, right? So you have to make sure duties are logical. And now again, there's no particular let's say one formula for it. There's every job, every industry, every occupation is different. Okay, so we look at that, and on top, basically, we also look at the fact that sorry. So we also look at the fact that is that kind of job viable for that company or not? Okay, because if you're saying something, you're doing something, but the company is so small, you can't even do all of that, then it will raise questions like whether you're doing a genuine job or not. Okay, so genuineness has to be there. Now come to the other element, like what else you need. Now, at the very least, you need two proofs. Now, it could be a pay stub, it could be a bank statement, it could be a superannuation, it could be your tax document. It's up to you. Okay. Now, ideally, obviously, if you give them the reference letter and then your super and tax, technically, yes, that should be sufficient. That is true. But at the same time, that's really sufficient. They don't really, because the best piece of evidence you can give them is the reference letter along with your pay slips and bank statement. The reason being, pay slips show how many hours are you doing per week. Okay, whether you're getting paid fortnightly or monthly or weekly, whatever basis, but it shows exactly how many hours are you doing and how long you've been working. Is there's a holiday or not? You know, all those sort of things are there. And the bank statement corroborates on that, okay, if you get, let's say, Mr. Hussain is getting paid net salary or on the pay slip is 3761.5. It would reflect the same amount on the bank statement, that on 12th of February, he was getting paid 3761.5. Okay, so that's like the easiest way to show it. Now, I generally go with reference letter, bank statement, pay slip, and one more, just to spice it up, just to make sure they don't come back to us with more documents. Because if they request you for more documents, they would take 2-3 weeks extra, and that will waste a lot of time. Right? So we don't want that. So probably superannuation or tax, one of the documents could be added. That would make your life much easier, because superannuation will clearly show that statement that XYZ Limited was paying you quarterly or monthly, however they update you. Okay. Up now this is a sample of the assessment letter. All right. Now, how does the final assessment letter looks like? Now, this person, if you notice, they've gotten occupation as an analyst programmer. Okay. Now, analyst programmer is a sister occupation of software engineer and developer programmer. So even the codes are similar. 2613. 11 is analyst programmer. If you make it 1213, that becomes developer programmer, software engineer. If you take it to further down, it will take to web developer as well, right? So all these are assessed. They're all the same group. The first 4 digits show you the same group, which group you're belonging to. Now, this person has done Masters of Business Information Technology, okay, BIT, from RMIT in July 2019, okay. They had also done BTech, Computer Science Engineering, from Lingaya's University, okay, by September 2013. Okay, now if you notice, both the degrees have been assessed major in computing. Okay, that means it's an ICT major degree. So it means both tick mark are needs. Okay, now here's the thing. You notice one thing. Over here, they said the following employment after 14 January 2016 is considered to equate to work at an appropriate level. Now, what this line signifies is only one thing, that all the experience from this point onwards can be used. Okay. For example, if someone has done 10 years of experience and they've given a particular date, so we cannot use the 10 years. We have to use that particular date only. So we can only use experience from 14th of January 2016, because this is called a deemed date. Okay, like at what date you're deemed to be a software engineer. So, for example, as I said earlier, overseas degree, if you've done a BTech, computer science, that alone is not enough. You have to have 2 years of experience. So this is where it comes along. Now, this person completed in September 2013. Okay, so they got a job in January of 2014, 3 months later. So January 2014 to January 2015, 2016, 2 years were deducted. Okay, their logic was like, now you become a software engineer or analyst programmer, and from January 2016 onwards, she or he can get all the points they want. Right now, after the first job was 2014 to 2017, then 2019 to 2020. So everything after 2016 can be used for the points. So this is how they write it. For if there were more employments, there'll be more. Now people who have worked for consulting firms like TCS, Wipro, Tech Mahindra, Capgemini, they usually have like whole list of occupation because they have progressed a lot. Like say they started working in 2011, they moved from a tester to software developer role to senior developer to manager or project, whatever, right? So they moved to 4-5 different roles. Okay, so for each role there will be a separate section. Is this particular role was relevant or not? What if for brief period 2 years that person became a part of management and they were doing completely different work? They were not touching programming or something. They were completely working on the management side. Okay, marketing or management, project management, something different. So that will not be included. So they will say, okay, everything is included except for those 2 years. So this is very important for you to understand that all the experience have to be shown like that. Now, one more thing I just need to mention, that sometimes you cannot get the right letter from your employer. You just can't get it. Okay, like company has closed or company has been acquired. That's very common these days. And the company, you don't have a good relationship with your boss, right? Ex-boss, you hate him. You can't get it. So what do you do in such cases? You can get a statutory declaration. If the employee is in Australia, a statutory declaration can be given. Now, statutory declaration is, or stat for short, is Australian version of the Indian Pakistani affidavit. Okay. Now, affidavit can be made over there. Let's say in India, for example, this person has worked in Bangalore. So they will have to get affidavit over there. Okay. And get it witnessed by a notary. And it would be similar to the reference letter. The only difference would be you have to establish how are you working together. Okay. So for example, I left Karachi, okay, back in 2015-16. Now my employer is not giving me the letter, but my immediate manager, my immediate superior officer is happy to give me the letter. He said, yeah, Usman, we know you've done the right job. I'll give you the letter. So what I do is, because I cannot get it on the cover letter of the company, that let's say bank, I will go to my boss and say that, okay, on your personal basis, give me affidavit that you can vouch for me that I have done all these tasks and I work from this date to this date, and can you sign it? If he is happy to do it or she's happy to do it, that can work as well, right? Obviously, the onus is on you to prove how that person is, linked to you. Were you working at the same time in the same company? Were you reporting to them at that moment or not? Or is it just your friend or colleague who was working with you? So you have to establish. The onus is on the applicant to show all of that. But this is a possibility, because a lot of times this happens. Like, you just don't know how to get it. Or the company has been acquired, the team has changed, because no one works for one company for more than 2, 3, 4 years maximum, right? So if it's an old company, just get the affidavit. That's another part. The value placed on the affidavit is slightly lower than a normal cover letter. The reference letter with the letterhead. But we have to do what we have to do, right? Sometimes we don't have a choice. Okay, but it works. I have done this for people who have worked for 8 years, 10 years, 3 different companies, 3 different affidavits. ACS did not ask a single extra document, and they approved it. So it is not something I would say that can break your case. Okay, so you can do that as well. Okay, now the most important part. Okay, all of that was obviously a lot of people have common knowledge about that. You have done your research, you know about those things, right? As well. So, but this is again another part. This is very critical. That what do you do now? Like, let's say, as most of you would be, at least a vast majority, 70-80% of you would be the ones who are either just graduated or have graduated with a PY as well, and now you're deciding what to do. Okay, you've just graduated and you're deciding, okay, where to move, what to do, what not to do. Okay, so these are the 2 major categories most of you will belong to. Okay, I'm assuming at least. Yeah. So now this is like a general trend. Okay, like I just try to compress it as much as possible to save time so we can take more questions. So now, first of all, 189 is not getting the invitations. Okay, now 189 was a PR visa, which was like, this is what I got for myself, and this is what I wanted to get through for all of my clients. But it's just not happening right now. So, right. So there are no invitation received for the last God knows how many months. At this point, I even forgot, because it's been such a long time. It's been more than 1 year actually, because there was a time I was used to get 10 to 15 invites per month, and it was pretty regular, because they had a particular date, like 11th of every day, every month you will get the invitation letter. Before that was 2 rounds per month. So it was very predictable and very stable and very constant, right? You can actually predict how many people will be getting the invite. And there's a lot of transparency with it. But unfortunately, since the COVID hit, they have completely put a brake on 189. So that's gone, unfortunately, but you can still apply. You can try with 95 points. You might get lucky, but the queue would be insanely long. So again, I don't think you should have your hopes high with that. You can try, you should try, but do not have your hopes high with that. 190 is your ultimate salvation. 190 is a PR, and 491 is a TR, meaning 491 will convert to PR after 3 years. And in these 3 years, you have to live in a regional area and you have to work in a regional area and then convert to PR. And by work, I mean you have to earn at least $53,900 per annum to convert it into PR. All right. So basically, 491 is obviously inferior visa to 190. That is true, but at the same time, it's not a bad option, because you get Medicare. You get a chance to live in a lot of different cities. You can live in Wollongong, Newcastle, Canberra, Adelaide, Perth, like Gold Coast. All these are considered regional. So the simple regional definition of regional area, if you think about it, all of Australia minus Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, everything is regional. Okay, so that opens up a lot of place for you to move, a lot of career basically options for you as well, because yes, 80, like, again, this is my personal opinion, I think 70 to 80%, probably 80% of jobs would be in NSW, Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane, but there are jobs available in the regional area as well. Okay, and as increasingly more people, more IT people will go there, there'll be more startups, more companies, and they'll have branches. Things will progress further even in the future. But obviously, as of right now, there's not a lot of jobs in IT over there. Okay, so that's one thing. Now, in terms of basically Victoria. Now, Victoria is a very viable option, but you need to be working in your field, okay, at least a couple of months. So then you can apply over there. No, but obviously I don't want to go into too much detail because that's outside the scope of this discussion today. But I just want to obviously I know this is something everyone wants to know, so I just want to cover it as well. That Victoria, there in your head, just keep 2 things in head. That you have to basically get the right points. Okay, if you're anywhere below 890 or something, just not gonna happen. It may happen, but then you have to have a really good job. So Victoria, the points matter along with your job. Okay, like where are you working? So if you're working in a health tech, if you're working fintech, you're working in digital economy, if you're working on, let's say, payment solutions like Afterpay, it's companies like that, or you're working on gaming, AI, reducing emissions. That's what they want you to. They have 8 target sectors. Okay, and you need to be amongst those 8 target sectors, and only then they will be inviting you. Okay, so Victoria nomination works like you have to lodge expression of interest, then ROI, registration of interest, and you have to disclose where you're working, what's the company and the role and everything, and then they'll shortlist you. So if you think about it, 2 things matter over there: points and the role you're working in. If you have the 95 points but you don't have the right job, they will just won't invite you. But at the same time, if you have the right job but you have a little bit of short of point, they will still consider you. Okay, so there's one thing you can consider. Now coming to NSW. Now NSW dropped a bombshell on us late December. Okay, so what they've done is they have, for IT occupations, most of the IT occupations now require 3 years of experience. Okay, now they have not mentioned whether it's onshore or offshore, but it has to be 3 years. And they have basically derailed a lot of applicants. They have dashed a lot of hopes, unfortunately, but the way things are going right now, 3 years experience is needed, first of all. And the points, you need to be at 90, 95 points to be getting an invite. Okay, like 95 is the ideal situation, and a 95 pointer will probably get the invite, but obviously they need to see the experience and everything, right? A 90 in terms of a 90 pointer, if someone who has 90 points of their own, they can get the invite, but they'll have to wait quite a long time, let's say 6 months, 4 months, depending on the occupation, right? If you're a business analyst, it will be much quicker. If you're a network administrator, network support engineer, then it will take further time, right? So it also depends on what kind of job you're doing. Now, NSW 491 is also a very good option. There are 3 pathways: stream 1, 2, and 3. Stream 1 is for people who are working in a regional area for at least 3 months in their own field. If you're a network engineer, you're working in networking. You're a security specialist working in security domain for 3 months, 20 hours a week, and you can apply for the stream 1. And the good thing about stream 1 is points don't really matter. Okay, you could be at a lower point, but you have 3 months of experience, so they will be able to shortlist you before anyone else. So this is actually a very solid pathway. The second pathway, again, a solid pathway, is someone who is going through a steady pathway. So if you have done 2 years of study in NSW regional areas such as Wollongong or Newcastle or Armidale, let's say there's a University of New England over there, they will use those 2 years to give you the nomination. Okay, so the points, you don't need high points for that, again, because the basis of your eligibility is your studies in regional area, study in regional NSW, not the points. Okay, so that helps you a lot in a lot of ways. So someone who has done, let's say, BIT or MIT in Hong Kong or UNE or CSU or University of New England or University of Newcastle, and they have studied the right course. So it's not like you just studied MBA over there and you're using your overseas degree to get the assessment. No, you have to have the right qualification over here as well. Okay, that's also the fun part of it. Now, the third stream is for people who are applying based on their points. So brute force of your points. That's all they're looking at. Now, when you look at basically the stream 3, you need to have really high points to get invited. Okay, and especially since the bombshell has dropped that most occupations have gone up to let's say 3 years of experience and NSW for 190 visa. So all these people will be diverting their attention to stream 3. Okay, and in stream 3, the competition is going to be insane, at least for this round, right? As you know, there are rounds for NSW nominations. Okay, now, so this was the information for the 3 round. Now, how that works logistically, they have this migration year from 1st of July 2021 till 30th of June 2022. They've given us 4 rounds: August, October, January, and March. August is gone, October is gone, January and March are left, right? Now, January, we are actually currently in it. So you can apply from the 1st till the 31st, January or March. Now, what they'll do is they'll invite you at the end of January or first week of February, they'll invite you. Okay. Now, you have to lodge expression of interest and then ROI, registration of interest. Okay. You have to choose the right state out of the 14 regional areas. You have to choose the right area and with the right points and everything, apply with that. Now, if your ROI gets invited or shortlisted, let's say, you will be eligible to apply for the RDA. RDA is Regional Development Australia. Their job is to find out whether you have the right points, have you claimed the right things, are you what you're saying you are, like you're a genuine person or not, you have the right profile or not. So they will look at it. They'll take an $800 fee. They'll take your documents. They'll take 2 to 3 weeks, again, depending on the RDA, because there are 14 RDAs in NSW. So whichever RDA you're going for, let's say Orana or Newcastle or Hunter, basically Illawarra, Far South Coast, they will take your application, $800, process it. If they want something else, they'll ask you. If not, they'll make a decision whether approving your nomination or refusing it. Okay, if you're approved, you can apply the visa. If you're refused, then you have to apply again later on. So that's the unfortunate situation, but very rarely someone gets refused unless you have lied about something or disclosed something wrong, or they made some big mistake. Otherwise, they don't really refuse very often. If you did a good job, if you did a decent job, they will probably approve you, right? So that's one thing. Now comes the Canberra matrix. Now, Canberra is also an option. They can give you 491 and 190, but recently the points have gone up quite a bit. So Canberra matrix points are based on the people who have how much time you've studied there in Canberra, how much work you've done there, what kind of work you've done there, do you have your partner or not, what's your English, all these things combined, and then you get points for it. Now, a normal person can get 75 points with superior English and 1 year work in Canberra and 1 year study, plus PY. couple gets to 85 points. Okay, so this is like a general average cases. Okay, most of the cases. But if you have a better case, if you have, let's say, your uncle, aunt living there, you have your siblings living there, you get more points. If you have investment over there, you get further points. So the better the case, the higher the points. Let's say you go from 85 to 95 or 100, and the better the case would be, the quicker you get the invite. Okay, and Canva is quite, quick to invite you. If you have the right points, you lodge the expression of interest at the right point, they will invite you quite quickly. But because the competition gone up quite a bit recently, there's so many people who have gone there. I personally have sent 80 clients over there. It's just because I've actually recently stopped sending there, like 6 months back or something, because it was just not worth it. Okay, because all the people have sent there, most of them have gotten the 190, and some of them who don't have enough points, they'll get the 491, but they'll be done. But now, especially for IT people, I'm not too keen on sending people in Canberra. But again, it's an option. If you're okay with 491, definitely consider it. But if you want 190 particularly, be careful. Unless you have a chance of getting a business started, or you have a family member there, or you have a chance of getting a job in the same field, which will seal the deal for you. If you don't have all of those things going for you, then try to avoid Canberra. Okay, so guys, first of all, thank you for attending and listening to me. And obviously, I'll try to take the questions right now, but I thought just tell you my email address and everything. So if you have queries, I'm happy to answer. Obviously, I cannot go into consultations over the email, of course, because that's I have to do it responsibly. So if I'm doing consultation, I need to understand your particular case in detail, and then I'll give you a solution. I cannot give a solution without understanding the case. So that's why this email is for people who have 1 or 2 small questions, quick question. I'm happy to answer. That's not an issue. Okay, but I can't go into too much detail. You understand? Because time constraint is there. So obviously, if I get and I do get 100 to 100, 200 emails a day. So for me, there's a limit. So anyway, but I will try to answer everyone I can. But anyone who I can't answer today, I'll answer via email. Send it over the weekend, and I'll be able to answer you. If there's, if you want particular, let's say, specific answer or something, come to our office. We have office in Sydney, right next to the town hall station, and we are happy to entertain you in terms of your process and everything, like whatever you need to ask us, any part of it. Okay, now okay, so guys, if you have any questions, please type in into the comments so I can read and try to get maximum answer for that. Okay, so let me go one by one. I think I'll go the top to see who will ask. Okay, so let's go with Sevarthi Saikiran. Okay, my wife has done bachelor's degree in civil engineering. After that, she worked in India for 6 years continuously in IT as a developer programmer. Can she get assessed and processed, please? Okay, so Sevarthi Saikiran. Yes, she can get assessed, but there's a pathway which is slightly more complicated for her, which is called RPL pathway, recognition of prior learning. So what you have to do is you have to this RPL form. Okay, it's like a very detailed form, and they'll ask you, because her qualification has nothing to do with IT. Okay, people have done, let's say, civil engineering, chemical engineering, automobile engineering. They also work in IT. So for those people, you have to write a whole RPL report. Obviously, we can guide you how to do. We can use samples for that, but what happens is you have to write a whole RPL report and give them 6 to 7 years of experience, and then they'll assess you. Okay, so it is possible, but it is quite tricky, because then her experience has to be rock solid, and it can't be anything less than 6 months. Otherwise, it just won't be assessed, right? But it can be done. Yes, it can be done. But she won't get any points, as I told you, right? They'll use it to get his assessment, but she won't get any extra points for it, unfortunately. Okay, so let's go with John Ray. So he said, what if having experience of 3 to 4 years but the last time was on 2019 and it was in the home country? That is fine. That is fine. See, ultimately, John, if you have a right qualification and you have the experience, right IT experience for 3 to 4 years, that's fine. The only problem would be that it's only 3 to 4 years. So as I told you, 2 years will be deducted, so you'll be left with 2 years. So those 2 years won't give you points. It will give you the assessment, but no points on top. So like it's beneficial, but it doesn't change the game for you. Okay. And you said 2019, that's totally fine. 2019 is not an issue. Anything in the last 10 years is perfect. That's all we care about. So that's fine. So iPhone 13, like that guy didn't write his name. So he said, I finished my 2-month PY in Sydney. Now I'm planning to move to Canberra. Shall I be able to get 5 points in Canberra? Okay. Should I be able to get? Anyways, so in Canberra, yes, you can get the point. The problem here is that you have already started the PY in Sydney. So if you already started a PY, meaning you cannot it's not easy to change the institute. It's not easy to change the state, because I have clients who want to do that. And if even the same institute in a different state, they give them a really hard time. They wasted their 1 month, 2 months processing just so that they can match to the right course, and then they jump to that particular course. And not just that, if your institute does not have a branch over there, then again, another problem that it just won't give you advantage. Then you have, because you're in a contract when you start a PY. So if that's why I always tell people that when you're graduating, that's the time you do the planning. You don't plan after you made the move. You plan before you make the move, right? So that's why this would have helped a person, if you have decided where to do PY and why you're doing a PY in that particular state. So once you've started the PY, you're done. You paid the first fee, that's gone. So you've wasted thousands of dollars. Then you decide, then it's just not worth it, right? So, but what you can do is you can move to Canberra. You can do a diploma over there, the cheapest diploma you can find, any kind of diploma, and get a point for that. Okay, 5 points for that. And PY you can continue doing in NSW. Okay, it's all online right now, so you can keep doing it. But again, that's the same problem. Like you'll be spending a lot of money, twice the amount as a normal person. So why would you? Anyways, BuzzFeed is saying that even if you have done PY, still detected 2 years of offshore experience. I don't understand the question, but even if you have done PY, still detected to. Okay, so basically, you don't. If I don't understand your question exactly, but if you are asking that, can you still use experience? You don't need to, because you just need one assessment. It can be onshore or offshore, doesn't matter. If you're done a PY, just get the assessment based on that. Don't get into hassle of using the 2 years you have. Because 2 years will not give you any points. If it's not giving any points, then why would you bother, right? So Paramjit Kaur is saying, sir, the should salary be up to a decent amount, like for 4-9 months should be around 54. Okay, no, not really. So it should be, yes, it should be enough to show that you are doing a professional job, but there's no, it should be above the minimum wage. Okay. Now, and I know this for a fact because I had clients who would ask me the same question that, oh, I checked on Fair Work and everything that, like the wage rate for network engineer should be $35, $50 an hour or something. But when we apply with it, even with people with the minimum, little over minimum, even they get assessed. So I don't see a reason that salary would be a problem, because see, if you're making anything legal salary, anything above the legal rate, that's fine, because ultimately, see, remember one thing, you're a fresh graduate, you can't negotiate, right? When I got my first job, I couldn't negotiate anything. I just took whatever was given to me. Second, third, fourth, I negotiated, because then I had the power to do it, because I had the experience.
Thank you, sir.
So yeah, not a problem. So yeah, so that's not something you should worry about. Okay. Now, Karthik Kumar said, I have mentioned permanent time in my reference letter. Would that be all right for you? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. That's not an issue. Yeah. Malika Zedi said, why the assessment is valid for 24 months. On an exceptional basis, we need to do the assessment again after 24 months. That is true. It's only valid for 24 months. But again, see, this is ACS decision. We can't do anything with that, unfortunately. Like, we have to accept it the way it is. But they do give you assessment again. So, and also remember one thing.
Yeah, it's just assessment, the paper not different, the experience not different, the degree not different. It's just like I've done my bachelor's, and after 24 months, I have already done the same bachelor degree, which they assess them already.
Okay, 2 reasons. Number one, money. They have to make more money. Number two, and jokes apart, the second reason is, sometimes, okay, let's say you had experience from 2012 onwards. Okay, so now that as you know, that it has to be in the last 10 years, right? So the 10 years move. So last year, the 10 years were in 2011 to 2021. Now it is 2012 to 2022. So some people will lose points because of this. Okay. So they want relevant experience. So they want it to be the last 10 years. Yes, for some people who have experience in the last 5 years, doesn't really matter for them. But people who are very experienced, who have been working from basically 2011, 2010, they will be affected. Okay. Their experience will keep getting cut from the back end. So there are reasons, there are genuine reasons for it, but I understand it seems like they're just doing for the money, but not really. There are good reasons for it. They want it to be as relevant as possible. So that's actually the prime reason, basically. Okay. So anyways, but you will get it because you've already assessed you once, you'll get it again. And also I'll give you one more reason. Actually, I just realized third reason is also there. Back in I think 25th or 27th of September 2019, they changed the rules. Okay. Like before, you can just give a reference letter and that was enough to give you the assessment. Now they move the rules different. And used to give attested documents. You know, you have to a migration agent can stamp it and sign it and send a document. Now they want only color documents, scanned copies. That's it. So the rules have changed as well. Okay, so they're much more stringent as they were before 7th of September 2019. So that's also a factor, that if someone was lying back then, they won't be able to lie again. Right. So there are factors. Anyways, so I'll move to the next part. So Zishan Tahir, Mohammed Zishan Tahir is saying that does the 3-year experience rule mean the whole experience needs to be assessed as well? Yeah. Onshore and offshore.
Elaborate on the question. In my case, I have almost 2 years of onshore experience in my related field, and that's been assessed by ACS. On top of that, I've got 18 months of experience back in Pakistan. That's also ICT related, but ACS, they didn't assess that. So now I'm worried that I've already applied for 190 and the situation has changed. Now we need 3 years of experience. So does the whole experience need to be assessed, or just like, I'm not claiming points for my offshore experience, but will it be considered?
See, the problem is they've not actually disclosed, because there hasn't been even one round after that rule came in. So I have not tested it the same way. Okay, that's first thing. So I can't tell you in the same way as I would after the invitation round. But I could tell you this much, that for ACS, logically speaking, for ACS to find, or let's say NSW to know that whether the experience was right or not, they have to rely on ACS, right? So what if that experience was in something else? Like, you know, like they won't go in your hunch that I think that this is IT work or my title was software engineer. That won't matter to them. What matters what ACS says. If you notice, what are the actual rules in NSW's guidelines is that you have to have a deemed date, you know, like if you're claiming even 1 year in Australian experience, okay, so it has to be mentioned on the letter that basically from, let's say, 15th of December 2019, you can use all the experience. Now, why is that? The reason is because they want to make sure it's on the ACS letter and they don't have to think too much. They know that if ACS has said this is the right work, it is the right work. That's not their job to worry about it, right? That's the reason. So if ACS has not assessed it, what is the reason? The only reason they would not assess it is because if it's not genuine, if they found out something adverse, or you did not submit the right application, in which case you should do it once more, or if it's not the right duties. You know, one of those reasons, or the degree was not right, overseas degree, right? So back in Pakistan, you did the wrong batch of commerce or batch of computer science. So, you know, stuff like that. So if you should ask the question, like, why were you giving a negative assessment? If you were given negative, did you not give enough documents? You know, look at those factors. So that will matter. All right.
Can we ask ACS to give a reasoning on why they have not assessed it? Because in the letter, they don't say anything.
Yeah, you can ask, actually, you can ask the case officer, but case officer, they do reply, at least to me, they reply, but sometimes they give you a very vague answer. But sometimes they also give you a very detailed answer. I'll give you an example. I just realized one of my clients, she faked the documents. Okay. So they actually wrote it to me very clearly that this person is working for a small company. Okay. And they send security guards to other firms. So they do not have the capacity to hire a software engineer on its own. So this is not a genuine job. We can even go after her where we're not doing anything. So they actually wrote it very clearly, like clear word that we know is fake. Okay, so sometimes they write like that as well. But again, some case officers are very careful. They just don't want to get into the mess of back and forth, because they don't want to get in that argument. They'll say, okay, if you think you're right, appeal. That's the thing.
All right. Thank you.
Right, so no worries. Thanks, Zishan. Take care. Apart from, okay, Ranjan, he said, hi, Usman. I'm currently living in Sydney and I've been working in IT support for 3 months and running. Also, my PY is about to be completed, but the bombshell has made it daunting. What would you suggest? Yes, so this is actually a question I was waiting for. Okay, so Ranjan, first of all, this is for everyone, because I know this is a very, very sad situation that what they've done. Now people who are now there are a couple of things you have to think about. First of all, if you are living in Sydney and you are hoping to get an NSW nomination, okay, now you have to think about what should be the next move. Okay, now there are a couple of factors you look at. Number one, what are you at? Okay, like whether you're 75, 85, 95, 90, what points are you at? Number two, you have to look at how much visa do you have left. And number three, there's the element of luck and opinion, which I'll come to. So in terms of visa, so visa and points, this will go hand in hand. Okay, so now if I'll give you a couple of examples. I had a client, I have a client actually, I just talked to him yesterday. So he has a visa till January of 2023. Okay, so he has like 12 months, 13 months basically. And he has 95 points, and his 95 points will, he has 90 right now, and his 95 points will be completed when he completes 1 year experience in April or May. Now this guy has 95 points, solid. I've done everything is locked in. Experience, genuine experience. There's no doubt he won't get it. So 95 pointer with 1 year left, he doesn't need to give up. He just needs to fight on. He just need to wait for the rules to go back to the normal. Okay. But another person whose visa is expiring in March, I told that guy again yesterday that you have to seriously consider going for the 491 in the January round. Because he has 90 points and that's all he has. He can't get anything up of that. Okay, so people like that, then I'll recommend differently. So it depends on your situation as well. Okay, and then there are other people who they have 90 points, but they just don't want to give up. They don't want the 491. Just they never thought about going to regional area. They only thought about 490. So that's a fair option. Now the question is how. Now there's a third element. Now opinion or the advice. Now I've seen NSW change the rules up and down. The experience, no experience, experience, no experience, high demand, low demand, already 10 times that I remember, at least in I think 2 or 3 major differences back in 2021, right? So they do change their mind quite often. Like if you remember, they changed the rules of residency in May of 2021, that anyone who moved to NSW for a single day can be considered resident. All the people from Victoria moved to NSW. And then once they moved, 2 months later in August, September, July, August, they said, oh, now we need you to be working for at least staying here for 3 months or working in the same field. Now they were screwed. So they do this time. So within 2 months, they change the rules completely. So changes do happen. So this change is, in my opinion, again, this is purely my opinion. This is not an advice. This is not my company's opinion. This is my small best opinion, that I think there's a very, 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 very high chance it will go back to normal rules by July or something. So this is what I think. I may be wrong, time will tell, but I think they'll change, because see, the only other people they'll get in this situation is the people who have been working for 6 years, 7 years, who are mid-30s, working in NSW on 482 visas, right? So they're already married, they already have kids, they're already busy, they are already peaked at their careers. So in my opinion, NSW will find people who are just graduating, who are a 27-year-old, 26-year-old, who has 95 points. Shouldn't that person be more valuable to them? The person who will do their first job in NSW, who will do their last job in NSW, the person who will have 40 years of career all in on NSW. So that's much more valuable to them if you do the calculation. So again, this is opinion. So let's see, but I think there's a high chance they can go back to the normal rules, right? So some people who are at 95 points and have enough time to sustain it, don't give up yet. Okay, so that's one thing. So anyways, that's one thing. can you hold? I'll have to go with the question first. So sorry,
Sure.
it's just if you, yeah. So now M said to everyone, thanks one for the very informative session, much appreciated. I have some question. If you could clarify. Number one, PY counts as work experience, or was there recent change about it? No, PY and work experience are two different things completely. Okay, so PY can be done in conjunction with the experience, or it could be done separately. So there's two different things. There's been no change. Okay. Number two, experience reference letter with duties we should write out as detailed as possible. All duties carried out. Okay. Now here, again, as I said, there's no magic formula to it. So yes and no. Yes, because you have to write out all that you're doing. You have to show that the process you are following in your profile, but not too detailed, because sometimes people go into stupid things. You don't need to do that. If I have to give you a magic number, let's say 8 to 10 duties, that's good enough. That's fine. If you have 10 duties, you have done the right job, you have done the right task, that should be enough. You don't need to worry about that. Oh, I have to do everything, every single thing that I come to office, I report to my boss, good morning. No, you just paste to the point, 8 to 10 points, that's it. Okay. Now, the third point is, does having a good GPA and qualification matter? Not at all. Not at all. Now, for example, in Adelaide, high performing graduate, but on the, okay. So Adelaide is different. Okay. Adelaide is a state. Their requirement is completely different. They can ask for anything. They can say that we want people who are unicorns. We want people who can fly. They can say anything they want. So state is a different game altogether. So let's not worry about that. Okay. So that's one thing. Now, regarding Nati, I have to check. I think actually none of my clients Nati ever expired, to be very honest with you. So I think it was 3 or 4 years, one of those. Yeah, it's not 2 years, definitely 3 to 4 years. Yeah, it's valid for quite a bit time, but I'll check for you. Yeah. So Ratna said, can I live and work in and also do a second job in Sydney? No, not at all. Because if you're it depends again. If you are in 491 already, so that's the whole point of 491, that you're employed, you're embedded in the regional area. If you're not embedded, then what's the point for them? There's no advantage. If you're taking up a job of a person in Sydney, then they feel the point, right? So that's one thing. Now let's go with Giridhar Ayempuri. He said, can I live in regional and work for Sydney? No, not at all. Sydney company. Okay, so again, Sydney company, the question is, what constitutes a Sydney company, right? That's the question. Now, if you're working for, let's say, Telstra. Now, Telstra has regional offices in Adelaide and Perth and everything. So, can't you work in Telstra because it's registered in NSW, Sydney, George Street? Of course you can, because it's a big company. They have branches everywhere. So, if your company has a presence in regional area, or they have a project going on there, you can definitely work there. But it can't be like you're working from home and you're working from home for a Commonwealth Bank department which is based in Sydney, but you're working in regional area. That won't work, because that will be like you're working for a Sydney company. End of story. So okay, so Anish Karki saying, I'm working in my nominated occupation in Sydney. Will it be a plus point for NSW regional stream 3, or is it fully point based? Well, it will help. Yes, it will help you with stream 3, but majority or decision for stream 3 will depend on the points. So it's not fully point based, but yeah, mainly the point based. But it will definitely help you. And if they have to select between 2 or 3 people, you'll be the one to win. Okay. Abhishek said, hi Usman, does the role play have any importance when it comes to Victoria 190 between ICT business, to be more specific? Role play, okay. I don't know what you mean by role play. Like, it could mean a lot of things. My mind is being creative, but what I mean, okay, so if you're asking like so basically if you're working in a business, like the 2 occupations you've given us, these are 2 different occupations. Okay, business analyst would be doing completely different work. Software engineer will be doing completely different work. Okay, they do have occupation like analyst programmer. That's like a balance between business analyst, software engineer, but otherwise they're totally different. So it won't matter to them if you're either of the occupation and you're working the right sector. Sector is what matters. Occupation, obviously, when you apply, you have to apply with some occupation. So it has to be either one of this. But sector will matter. So if you're a business analyst or a software engineer, but where are you doing the software engineering, or where are you doing the business analytics? That matters. The company will matter. Okay, and the points, of course, with Victoria. So Audric said, Hasman, you mentioned that 6 months of work experience at 20 hours a week is will be considered for 6 times full-time experience. The ACS is right. Yes, it will be, because if you're working at 20 hours a week, that experience will be counted. Whether it's 6 months, 9 months, 10 months, that'll work. Okay, but to get assessment, you need 12 months. Just letting you know. Okay. Satendra Kumar said, is global talent visa worth trying? No, not anymore. It used to be. Like my first client got it with as a business analyst with $85,000 salary. Like even I was shocked because he forced me into applying. I recommended him against it, but he got it. So because no one is applying then. Now the queue is so long. There's so many people applying for it that you have to have a 165 plus. You have to have exceptional talent. You have to really prove that you are worth it. Okay, and the people applying here are CIOs, CTOs from Singapore. Like I personally clients, CTO from Singapore. So people like these, they're so experienced. The age does not really matter over here. So they're so experienced. They have such a big profile. They're working for startups. They're doing venture capital. Like they're out there. They're well known. You search their name, you can see articles. So they are applying right now. So the normal people, normal students who are just 26-year-old, just graduated, he doesn't stand a chance, right? That's the thing. So that's why I don't think it's going to be worth trying, because see, some agents will try to convince you. I'll tell you why, because they get to make good money with this. That's a fact. I get to make money with this, but it's not, if it's not worth it for you, then why should I waste my energy, right? That's the thing. Anyways, Krishna said, I did my Bachelor of Computer Science Engineering and here I did Masters in Information Technology, Special Master in Networking Security. Currently, I'm working as a software tester, and some of my core subjects I studied in Master. Can I assess my... Okay. Let me read that again. Okay, this will be a problem. I'll tell you why. Because you... if you're using, okay, if you have an Australian qualification and Australian, you have Indian, let's say I'm assuming Krishna Indian, let's say you're assuming you're Indian, so you have Indian bachelor's degree, then you did Australian masters, and then you did 1 year experience as a software tester. Now the problem here is that you cannot say that I'm going to use my Indian degree and the Australian qualification to assess, experience to assess. You can't do that, because for overseas qualification, 2 years are required. Over here, you only done 1 year. Unless you've done 2 years, then you can combine it. If it's only 1 year, it won't help you. But the problem is, if you use an overseas degree, these 2 years, even though they're Australian, they will be cut out. You don't want that. Okay. And the problem is, now you've done MIT specialization network security. Now, network security meaning that you cyber security, stuff like that. Now, that is completely different from software testing. Completely different. There's no alignment there. So either you start working networking job, or you try to use 2 years experience with assessment, or you do the PY. I hope you do the PY. So that's the thing. Yeah.
Okay. But I studied actually five subject, which is mainly related to my software tester position. So is it valid or not? Like I studied the cloud computing and everything, like the 5 subject, which is mainly related to my job here. So that's why I'm getting
that could work. Okay, do one thing. You have my email address in front of you. I would say just email me your transcript. I'll give you an opinion on that. If you have enough subjects for software, just go for that, and you can apply as a software tester or do that. Yeah, just show me transcript first. Okay, that'll be much helpful. Yeah, okay, email it to me, and I'll remember your name. Just write it and remember. Okay.
Okay.
Now, no worries. Now the Purkar is saying kindly offer some working remotely in other states. Again, the same thing. Working remotely for other states is just not worth it. Unless your company has a presence there, just not worth it. Because if your 491 gets, you go on 491, you work for remotely for different state based company. The 190 can be 191 visa that you'll be applying after 3 years of 491. The PR, tier to PR, that would be a jeopardy. So we don't want that. So I don't want to take any kind of risk with that, to be honest. So don't do that, guys. Okay. Now, Atik Sharia Rafi saying all regions, states need to earn. Yes. It doesn't matter which region area, you have to earn 53,900 per annum. Okay. And then Basvi is asking, I have 3 years of experience and also 2 year local level experience. However, PY done already, 2 years experience still detected from overseas. No, it won't be, because you have, this is the problem with that, because if you notice the letter, this, the person the sample I gave you for the bachelor's and master's, this guy had done 2 IT based degrees, computing IT major degrees. The same problem happening over there, that they use the earlier degree. Okay, so even if they use the earlier degree, you can't say that I'm getting assessment based on Australian degree and then I use a previous experience later. No, because that experience also has to be post qualification, right? Ultimately, let's say you have done WSFI, I'm assuming, let's say you're from Jordan, for example. If you're from Jordan, I have a WSFI from Jordan, so I'm assuming. So if you have 3 years experience in Jordan, you have to have a degree behind it, because if you're not done a degree before it, then those 3 years are waste. There's no point of that. So, and the moment you show the degree, they'll cut the 2 years and leave you with 1 year, again, useless. That's the thing. Anyway, so Shashan K. Jain said, in my rules, I mentioned, okay, it won't matter, to be honest with you, because they'll give you till the day you applied for. Okay, so if you wrote the end date or you wrote currently working, they'll still give you till the time you applied. So for example, if you applied in January, December 2021, they will give you assessment till December 2021. Okay, so they won't say that, oh, it's ongoing, so you can know. This is assessment. If you want more, apply again. So it won't matter. So Sridhar says appreciate effort. Thank you. Ratna says 190 chance of cybersecurity. Again, the same thing. 190 is pretty dull right now. So let's just stay clear for now. Okay. Okay, Riddhi Patel said after doing study PY in Sydney, started job recently, the benefit moves Adelaide due to lack of 8 band and 90 points, and need to work there in IT field as well. Okay, yes, you need to work in IT field in let's say if you go to Adelaide, but Adelaide, most of the IT will have 18 months, 12 months, 2 years, depending on which occupation you go for. They need a lot of experience, and you'll only give you, if you want to get the 491, then yeah, fine, then you can work for 6 months, 12 months, you can get the 491. But otherwise, and finding a job in IT in Adelaide is going to be much tougher than NSW. So that's another factor. All right. So anyway, so I'll just say 1 or 2 more questions, then we have to call it a day because actually night, it's almost evening. So Jagneet Singh said, hey Usman, I've been working in network engineer for 1 year, 2 months. Continuing, I've lost my ACS experience, CNSC, but not finalized yet. 8 bands in PT, NATI, and give it 90. Okay. So once you experience SS, you'll be 95 pointer, and your TR is pending 11th of May 2022. What should you do? Okay, now here's the thing, Jagneet. Now, with 95 points, your visa expiring so soon, now it's going to be a judgment call for you, because if you wait, that means you have to apply to buy more time. You have to apply a student visa or something to buy more time. Okay, and so the fighting for 190 will require you to spend a lot of money to buy more time from 11th of May onwards till the time they change the rule. And if they don't change the rule, you will just lose all that effort and money for nothing. So that's a very difficult dilemma most people are in right now. So we can obviously only guide you. Ultimately, you have to decide, like, is it worth it for you to wait it long? If you want to take the 491, you can, but then but January round, don't go for the 491. Go for the March round, because January is too close. Okay, so don't worry about it. Okay. Ananya is saying, is there any recording available of this webinar? Yes, we are recording it. We will be uploading it on YouTube and Facebook. So in a day or two, probably on Monday, 3 days. Yeah. Karthik. So anyway, guys, I have to take a leave, because obviously I would love to answer everything. I have to call it a night, because a lot of things going on. So anyway, there's still, I think, 44 people here. So guys, thank you for attending. Really appreciate it. Obviously, I try to answer as much as I could. Obviously, you understand, like, the time constraint is there. But if there's any question you have, any simple question, I'll answer over the email. No problem at all. If you want proper consultation in terms of detailed analysis of your case and then come to a solution, come to office or book a Zoom consultation or a consultation, whatever, and we'll help you out with it. I'll try to do my best to help you out. But but today is already 6:30. So I was supposed to close at 6, but obviously I love helping everyone out. So obviously give extra half an hour, but now I have to cut it out. Already, guys. So anyways, so thank you for attending. Really appreciate it. And do note my email address is Usman, USMAN @asiapacificgroup.com. Okay, or you can just call Asia Pacific Group City branch. You can access me anytime. Okay, so and Zoom for people who are not in Sydney, they can just call me through Zoom or just call me up and we'll take it from there. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Take care. Have a good weekend, and hope you all get PR quickly and easily. And this was helpful. Hopefully, this was helpful to you guys. All right. Thank you. Bye bye.